Good evening. Hope everyone's had a great day, and I hope you had a great East Coast staycation this week, as our Moment for All story times each night have focused on East Coast stories and East Coast authors and East Coast children's books. And so this evening, another East Coast story from Cape Breton tonight called The Malagawatch Mice and the Church That Sailed. And it's a storybook that's based on a true story, based in Cape Breton on the Bredor Lakes and Malagawatch, where there was a church that's been there since 1724. The first church was there. It was then a Presbyterian church and then became a United Church in 1925. But over the years, the number of people attending that church dwindled, and the council needed to make a decision about what to do with the church. And so they decided not to let it just fall into disrepair and into the ground, but do something to preserve its history. And so it was in late November of 2003, the 130-year-old Malagawatch Church was lifted from its foundations and moved by barge 20 kilometers across the lake to Iona. And now it stands in the Highland Village Museum at Iona, and you can go there and visit the Malagawatch Church. When author Caroline Stellings heard about this story of the church being moved, she wondered, what about those church mice? And so, the story of the Malagawatch church mice. For 100 years, and even more, there sat a church beside the shore, where songs rang out from every pew, and people sang in Gaelic too. And there, beside the river banks, beneath their feet, below the planks, another group gave prayers of thanks. Their kin came from the Hebrides with nothing but a piece of cheese, their only wealth a tartan quilt, sewn from squares of each clan's kilt. They settled underneath the floor in June of 1884. To earn their keep, they dust and sweep, for generations evermore. Above the boards each passing day, less people came, folks moved away. Then one night the gavel fell. Church council said, "We have to sell." A resolution was approved. The church they loved would have to move. It wouldn't go by truck or rail, nor bounce along some bumpy trail. For safety's sake, they'd use the lake. To Iona it would sail. Faced with such a sorry plight, the church mice held a vote that night. They had no options to discuss. Their choice, it was unanimous. The only thing that they could do was buy a boat and sail there too. But first they'd have to raise the cash. They all got busy in a flash. The ladies planned a rummage sale and sent out flyers in the mail to all their friends across the dale. The men did jobs around the town, like stacking cones for Mrs. Brown. The kids made rings of beads and things fallen from past wedding gowns. Although the church mice did their best, they never even stopped to rest. Their total earnings still fell short, which left them with a last resort. They'd nothing left. Their shelves were bare. No pots, no pans, no silverware. The only thing they'd left to spare, their antique quilt of each clan's kilt, like nothing else anywhere. Sorrow struck and filled with dread, they went to auction off their spread. They had no choice, those little mice, going once, going twice. Before the auctioneer yelled sold, Grandpa said, "I may be old, but there's one thing that I know, without your roots, you'll never grow." He took the quilt down off the nail. Our heritage is not for sale. As Grandpa stood there on the block, the building's walls began to rock. A wrecking bar, a saw, a jack, the mice jumped out the nearest crack. Their church was towed along the road and wasn't coming back. In a hurry, in all haste, the mice, they had no time to waste. They ran until their feet were sore. They found a raft beside the shore. This bold attempt was sure to fail. Their makeshift craft, it had no sail. Honk, honk, the tugboat blared its horn, as church and barge were waterborne. On the edge of tears and asking why, they watched their home go gliding by. In deep despair they said a prayer, their eyes upon the sky. Then suddenly, right then, right there, they felt a breeze, a gust of air. It soon became a windy blast that whirled around them lightning fast. Whoosh! It caught their tartan spread. "Pass that board," old Grandpa said. He tied the quilt on like a sail. "Thanks to our kin, we will prevail." And now folks come from far away to see the church that sailed that day. Their songs, they ring out like before, above and underneath the floor. They will, this time, for evermore. The Malagawatch Mice and the church that sailed. Enjoy East Coast music, enjoy East Coast storybooks, enjoy the East Coast. Take care. Have a good night.